Okie dokie. What does it mean to live truthfully? I have written out the weekdays and what you guys said, kind of a thesis statement about this topic, so let's recap. Monday talked about living in accordance with what we believe. Tuesday talked about a little bit what Monday talked about, but also talked about admitting and being conscious of reality. Wednesday talked about self-perception, intention, and performance. Thursday talked about living earnestly and a little bit about non-contradiction. Friday talked about how to respond to difficult circumstances, and Saturday asked if it was possible to not live truthfully. So I have the curse, or I guess benefit, of answering this question last, and I have the benefit of hearing all of your guys' insight before sharing my own. But the problem is my insight feels very meager and redundant in comparison. So the first thing that stuck in my head, that is still sticking in my head every time I think of this question, is this idea of hypocrisy, which I've been thinking about a ton anyway. So here's a twofer for you. I think hypocrisy in regards to living truthfully comes down to being honest with others, being honest with ourselves, and being honest about life in general, which is kind of a mishmash of what all you guys talked about. Being honest with ourselves means seeing ourselves for who we really are, having an accurate self-perception, and not pretending to ourselves that we're someone else. Like the Pharisees, they thought they were high and mighty spiritual teachers, and really they didn't know the first thing about what God wanted. Being honest with others, I think, too, means not putting forward a version of ourselves that is not who we actually are, pretending to be something else, which is such a Disney Channel original thought. But we can't live truthfully if we're not conveying who we actually are, what we actually believe to other people. And then being honest about life in general, I think, means not expecting, like Friday was talking about, not expecting things to be easy and not expecting everything to be hunky-dory all the time, and also having a correct view of how the world works and how life works, which I think is why studying philosophy and actually learning anything at all is so important, because if you're ignorant, you can't live truthfully. I've been thinking about hypocrisy because I've been realizing that every aspect, I've by the way, long been a staunch and often ridiculous proponent of the truth that it is not possible to live your life without some element of hypocrisy. So for a little while that meant I was totally okay with being hypocritical, because at least I was trying not to be, but I wouldn't get bogged down in my failures every time I discovered that I was hypocritical. But then I realized, a little bit like what Tuesday was talking about, realizing your problems but not doing anything about them, I was slipping into that. And I think living truthfully means having a constant war against those parts of ourselves that are hypocritical. Maybe living truthfully means endeavoring towards the truth in how you live. In which case, you don't have to live perfectly truthful and without hypocrisy all the time, but you need to be endeavoring against that hypocrisy, trying to root out all the lies and misconceptions you present to yourself and to others, and your misconceptions about the world. And I think that's what living truthfully is slashing down your misconceptions about yourself and others in the world, and actively rooting out hypocrisy in our lives. I really, really liked this all doing the same question. I thought it was cool. Really cool. Michelle says, everything's better with a Q. True fact.